In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Anchorage, Alaska was a very different place. It was rougher, colder, and a lot lonelier than most people imagine today. Back then, Alaska was a magnet for a certain kind of man. Young guys chasing money, older guys running from their pasts, and plenty of people who didn't have anyone waiting for them at home. That's where my aunt came in. She worked nights as a bartender at what you'd politely call a gentleman's club. Not as a dancer, not on stage, just behind the bar pouring drinks, making conversation, and keeping the peace. And if you've ever worked behind a bar, especially one like that, you know the job isn't just about alcohol. It's about people. The regulars came in like clockwork. Bored single men looking for company. Roughnecks and drifters with cash to burn. Married men who took their time before heading back home. My aunt knew them all. You kinda have to. But there was one regular who stood out. He wasn't loud. He wasn't aggressive. He didn't try to impress anyone. He was quiet, pallid, a little shy. He had acne scars on his face, wore thick glasses, and always kept to himself. The kind of guy who looked like he'd never quite fit in anywhere. My aunt figured he probably never had much luck with women. Not in high school, not in college. Maybe not ever. That, she assumed, was why he came to the club so often. But here's the thing. He was also the best tipper. So naturally, she was friendly with him. She talked to him more than most. Listened when he spoke. Made him feel seen. And over time, he started opening up. He talked about his life, his work, his loneliness. Nothing alarming at first. Just a man who seemed desperate for human connection. Then one night, he asked her something unexpected. He told her he was having a birthday party at his home. A big one. A real shindig. He said lots of people were coming. Friends, guests, a full house. And then he offered to give her a ride. He said his place wasn't far from the club. My aunt smiled and thanked him, but she said no. She told him she already had plans that night. The truth was, she felt uneasy, not because he'd been rude, not because he crossed a line, but because something didn't add up. This man didn't strike her as someone who threw big parties. He didn't talk about friends. He didn't seem socially connected at all. And on top of that, women who worked in clubs like hers had been disappearing around Anchorage. No explanations, no bodies, just gone. My aunt trusted her instincts. She didn't mix business with pleasure, and she didn't get into cars with customers. That night, the man looked disappointed, and for the first time, he didn't leave a big tip. Not long after that, he stopped coming to the club altogether. Time passed, life moved on, and my aunt forgot about him completely. Until years later, she was watching television when a familiar face appeared on the screen. Older now, but unmistakable. The caption under his photo read, Robert Hansen. Hansen had been arrested for a series of murders that would go down as some of the most horrifying crimes in American history. He had kidnapped at least 17 women, many of them dancers and sex workers. Women he believed no one would look for. He brought them to his cabin in the Matanuska Valley, just north of Anchorage. And then, he hunted them. He gave them a head start in the wilderness. Released them into the cold, into the trees, into the dark, and then he tracked them down with a rifle and a knife. After killing them, he kept pieces of their jewelry as trophies, proof, souvenirs. His final intended victim managed to escape and alert authorities, and that's what finally stopped him. When my aunt saw his face on television, her blood ran cold. She had no doubt in her mind that birthday party had never existed. That ride home had never been innocent. She believes firmly that she had narrowly escaped becoming part of his sick game, a game of life and death. People like to think monsters look like monsters, but Robert Hansen didn't. He looked like a quiet man at the end of a bar, a good tipper, a familiar face. And that's what makes stories like this so terrifying. Because sometimes survival comes down to a single decision, a single no, a single moment of listening to that quiet voice inside your head It's often said that Alaska has one of the highest missing persons rates in the country. Some estimates suggest 5 out of every 1,000 people vanished there. Vast land, endless wilderness, and places where no one hears you scream. My aunt was almost one of them. And every time she tells this story, she says the same thing. I didn't know who he really was. I just knew something felt wrong. Sometimes that's enough to save your life.